Welcome back to the Sports Wrap. Special guest tonight, Dr. Jimmy Buffi, Smithfield native. Why are we bringing you in? You have a pretty interesting job for the LA Dodgers. We're going to call you the arm doctor, the pitcher doctor. Tell us what you do for the Dodgers exactly.
Yeah, sure. So my job is basically to be one of the Dodgers' lead movement analysts.
Okay.
So my title is senior analyst, and I analyze how the ball moves, I analyze how the body moves, and then I look at the data and I work with the coaches and the players to help people move better.
All right, so you went to Notre Dame undergrad mechanical engineering, Northwestern, got your doctorate, but the way baseball works in 2019, there's a lot of smart people in these front offices evaluating everything from salaries to player movement, and obviously you have found your niche. Is it interesting being in the game of baseball? I know you grew up a Red Sox fan and you always loved sports, but based on what your background was coming up through school.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like been a dream that I've thought about for my whole life. Like I think an interesting anecdote. I don't know if other people do, but when I was 12 years old and I was a pitcher, I was kind of a little shorter than other people, and I wanted to figure out how to throw harder.
Okay.
So I bought a book called The Science of Pitching. And from that day forward, it was always in the back of my head, like, oh, this could be something I could do. But then it took me like a roundabout path. Mechanical engineering, when I started my PhD, I was studying prosthetic hands.
Okay.
But then I came across some baseball, pitching, arm injury related research, and that's when I was like, oh, the thing that I've been passionate about my whole life, I can try and pursue it as a career.
Unbelievable. So the Dodgers have had great success, 2 World Series in a row, obviously losing to the Red Sox last year. You grew up a Sox fan. I know you flew your parents out to LA. What was that like watching the team you grew up watching alongside your parents as you're being employed by the team they're playing against?
Oh man, it was so many mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Because clearly, like, the Dodgers winning would be incredible for my career.
Right.
But then you're raised a diehard Red Sox fan, which means it's in your blood that if you go against the Red Sox, it's like something like inherently evil about that, right? And then I have family members like going back and forth, like, we support Jimmy, but no, we support the Red Sox, and there was just like so many mixed emotions. But I think the coolest thing is that for my parents, I think we grew up huge sports fans, huge Red Sox fans. They've done so many things for me in my life. I think the coolest part of the whole experience was to be able to take them to a Red Sox World Series and allow them to see that play out. That was awesome. Pretty
cool. The right team won. You may not think so, but I'm sure your phone was blowing up for those couple weeks there. All right, so obviously in baseball, there's a lot of arm injuries. There's fatigue. I mean, you see a guy like Chris Sale, the Red Sox are trying to manage all of last year. The prevalence of Tommy John surgery. Where in 2019 is baseball right now with arm safety and pitcher safety? Because you see a culture like Japan, those guys throw all the time. Baseball, they're managing innings. You see very few guys throw 9-inning complete games anymore. Where do we stand in that department?
I think we've made a ton of progress. Actually, if you look at the stats, there was a huge peak in Tommy John surgeries a few years ago, but it's actually tapered off a little bit. I think teams are getting a lot smarter. I hope the Dodgers are too. That's kind of my job. Teams are getting a lot smarter about managing both managing the workloads, and as part of my job, like I said, I analyze movement. Also helping the players move better to avoid injury. So I do think that things are getting better.
Do the players embrace your approach because it comes from a very scientific background, or are they like, hey, I'm an athlete, I'm going to do what feels right, maybe if it's even contrary to what you're telling them?
Ooh, boy, yeah. So that has been a hugely important part of my job, has been the relationship building, and also respecting the knowledge and experience and intelligence of the coaches and the players themselves. Because maybe they didn't go to a fancy school or get a fancy education, but just from being in the sport for so long, you develop a lot of intuition, and just that intuition actually turns out to be right a lot of the time. So it hasn't been a lot of there hasn't been that much conflict, because I spend a lot of time with the coaches, and it's all about collaboration and helping people get better. So there actually hasn't been a lot of conflict.
Good to know. Is there one of you for all 30 baseball teams?
It's tough to say, because teams
you're under wraps to a certain. They keep you under wraps.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's growing, but I still don't think there are too many people like me. I mean, when I first started at the Dodgers, they didn't even know what I was going to do. When my boss called me for the first time, he said, "We don't really have a specific job for you.
Yeah.
But let's talk and see what we can come up with."
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so I asked you this off camera, but like some local Boston Raiders sports host, so says the baseball nerds. Are you a baseball nerd? Like
definitely,
yeah.
Definitely, yeah. But I played a lot of baseball too, so I feel like I bridged the gap between the jocks and the nerds.
Got it. And you grew up in Smithfield.
Yeah.
So good to be home this week?
Yeah, it's great to be home. Yeah.
All right. Are we? So the Dodgers look like they're going to the World Series. Are the Red Sox?
Oh boy, I don't know. They seem like they have some World Series hangover to contend with.
Yeah, they do. Too much fun in Los Angeles on that Sunday night in October. All right, Jimmy, thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Good luck the rest of the way. And maybe your parents will be out in LA for another World Series against a different team this year.
I hope so. Thank you, Yanni. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.